Welcome to AIM Products for Nutrition That Works with AIM Biologist and Quality Assurance Manager, Philip Germain.
Welcome to another broadcast. This is another in a series about BarleyLife. And again, today I am standing in one of our barley fields right now. It's early afternoon. I'm in one of our smaller fields right now. It's approximately 20 acres. It's a beautiful stand of barley grass. It's nice young grass. Sun's out. And you would think, with the sun out, you think, well, beautiful day. Where's the harvester at? Why aren't we harvesting barley? Well, we don't want to be harvesting this time of day. It seems to be just the perfect day outside for harvesting, but we do not want that equipment out here on this grass right now. So what we do is, during the day is part of the preparation. So daytime, when we're talking about barley harvest, this is one time when equipment is being maintenance, equipment is being prepared for the nighttime harvest. The actual facility where we do our juicing and all of that, it's almost at a standstill in the middle of the day. We're not really doing a lot. It's warm outside, the sun is out, and all those things work against us in our goals in creating the best barley product that we can, the best BarleyLife. So we're gonna wait, and this evening, this field I'm standing in right now will be harvested. So tonight, it'll be just at sunset. We're gonna bring the harvesting equipment out to this field. And in this particular case, this field has already gone through the perimeter purge, and we've talked about that previous broadcast. So the edge of this field has already been cut. The amount of grass left, and I think this is important to explain, the amount of grass left after harvest is still quite a bit of grass, but it is mainly what is left is not the actual blades of grass, but just the stem. So we've got 2 to 3 inches, sometimes 4 inches of this, I like to call it stem. Most people understand what I'm talking about. And this portion of the plant itself doesn't really hold a lot of nutritional value. So tonight when the harvest comes in, it'll be cutting about a similar height on the grass, 3 to 4 inches off the ground. And everything above that will be taken back to the plant and processed and juiced. Now this little bit that's left, I'm looking at this grass, and these stems are lighter in color than the grass itself around it. This is a question you may ask. You may ask, well, why are you leaving 3 to 4 inches of the plant behind? Shouldn't you harvest down to the ground and take all of it and create a product that's more economical? Well, we could do that. We could harvest right down to the ground. There's a few issues that could occur though. If you think about this, if this harvesting equipment gets lower and lower to the ground, what are we more likely to pick up? A little bit more grass, but also a little bit more soil, correct? So we're adding more of contaminants that can be added to the actual finished product. We don't want to bring any soil back to the processing facility, because with that soil, it comes with it microbes, foreign particulate, plant litter, those types of things that we do not want in the product. So we want to raise that harvester as much as possible while still harvesting as much of the plant as possible. So we're going to leave behind just this optimal amount, and we're going to harvest the best part of the plant. You can imagine in each one of these plants you want to capture as much as the leaf biomass as possible. And when you're looking at these very dense fields like this, you think, well, every last bit of this field can be harvested and made into barley grass juice and made into BarleyLife. And let's walk over here. We're going to walk to this one patch right here. So this patch, there's a little bit of soil that's exposed, not much, but a little bit. And you can see that it's just bare ground. There's not a lot of leaf material at all from the barley plants. And that's what we want to see. We don't want to see these open patches of ground though, because that's a lack of biomass. So as we're harvesting, we want to get as much material as possible so that we're being as efficient as possible when we're doing this manufacturing. But see, in this area here where we've got this little bit of bare ground, I'm looking at these plants more closely. The health of these plants is just really extreme. So this is a very, very dark green stand of barley, but it's, I'm looking really closely at it. we do see some bare ground. So what's happening here is we're going to actually get more juice out of these plants than some of these areas that are more dense because of the dark green nature of these leaves. So the plants themselves, each individual plant is very thick with leaf material. It's not a lot of stem associated with it. It's mostly leaf. Now this is important because that's where all of the good stuff is. It's all trapped within that leaf. And so if these leaves are very dark green, that's going to translate into very high chlorophyll content. Also translates into high vitamin K. So 2 very important nutrients within these plants. I'm going to take a look. Let's take a really close look. So we're going to get right down into this, and I'm actually going to pull up one of these plants. I'm going to look. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to look at this plant structure. The structure of these roots is really what I'm looking at here. And we've got long roots. And this is important because the longer these roots are and the more that they can penetrate the soil, we're going to get higher concentrations of minerals that are found naturally in these soils. We're going to get a higher concentration of this dark green leafy material because of that. We're going to be pulling more minerals out of the soil, which is going to create a more nutrient-dense barley life. And that's the overall goal when we're out here in these fields is to create the best product that we can. And by creating a product that is natural, we're susceptible to Mother Nature. Sometimes Mother Nature can be unrelenting. And we could get a late snow, we could get a lot of rain, and that will really impact the quality of leaves that we get out of these fields. And so it's important to us to spend as much time in these fields as possible to ensure that we're only harvesting plants that are in this young stage and actually avoiding anything that's become too mature. I mean, I can look, the field next to us is a larger field that actually has passed its harvesting ability. So we actually won't harvest this field next to us. It's become too tall, so we've created too much stem here. The barley grain has started to work its way up into the plant and is becoming too much of a liability for us to harvest. So this field next to us actually will be turned into animal feed and will actually be still used. Sometimes we'll use this material for fertilizer in some fields, but it's past its expiry date, to say the least. It's a beautiful stand of barley. It's green, it's dark, but it's just become too tall. And that's part of the risk that we play in growing these plants is that there's a very finite, limited amount of time that we can harvest. And if we're not within that window of harvest time, the field becomes unusable and needs to be used for something else. So we really walk an extreme tightrope in harvesting these fields at the right time.
Later that night, Philip returned to the field for the night harvest operation. Let's listen in.
This is a special broadcast where we're actually in the middle of harvesting a barley field. So the equipment is actually running in the field right now, and this field looks to be approximately 25 to 30 acres. And what we've done is a perimeter cut's already been made on this field, and you can probably hear in the background actually the harvester running right now. That harvester is actually picking up fresh grass that's going to be transported directly to the processing facility. Now I'm looking back behind my shoulder and I can see the processing facility behind me, probably within a half a mile actually. So this grass will be quickly transported to that facility and we'll be making fresh juice, and that'll be my next stop in this process is examining that juice processor and seeing some of this fresh grass being actually made into the juice. One of the more impressive things about these harvesters that I'm looking at right now is it's a massive piece of equipment. The actual harvesting portion that's actually cutting the grass is approximately 20 feet wide, and it's actually cutting that grass without it actually touching the ground. So that grass is being cut and immediately fed through the harvesting equipment and then into a truck. And that truck, as soon as it's full, is then transported back to the facility. So right now this truck's been, or this processor's been making its way to me, and it cuts at a fairly fast rate. I mean, I'm looking at this field that's it's approximately 100 yards long, about the size of a football field in length. And since I started broadcasting, it started from the other end, and right now it's about halfway to us. And that kind of gives you an idea of the amount of time it takes to really get this grass into the trucks and back to the facility. So a really big portion of what we're doing here is ensuring that, because we're here at night, we're ensuring that the product is cold. So we're starting off with a cold grass. And we've talked about in previous broadcasts the real necessity to have that grass be cold when it's cut. Those nutrients in those leaves, those are going to be higher in the evening times. The cooler weather, it's going to force that plant into somewhat of a survival mode. That survival mode is critical in producing a high level of nutrients in the plant. All those antioxidants, all those nutrients are pushed to the leaves to preserve it during those cold times, and that's the perfect time for us to harvest. So that's why we do this at night. And any of the transport time that occurs, transporting from this field into the processing facility, it's all cold already outside, so it's just adding to the product that we receive, adding to all those beautiful nutrients. It's preserving those, so there's no degradation that's occurring from the actual field to the processing plant. And you can probably hear in the back, I hope you can hear in the background, just the amount of noise that this processor makes, this field harvester. It's incredible. So right now, the harvesting equipment's about halfway through, or more than halfway through this field. It's only within probably 20 yards of me, and you can hear the volume at which, and you can actually see, looking at the harvest, you can see the grass actually being somewhat flung into the air, and that's that process by which that grass is not actually touching the ground. And it's just an impressive sight to see.
The statements made herein have not been evaluated by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration or other regulatory agencies. AIM products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Any testimonials should not be construed as representing results everyone can achieve. You've been listening to AIM Products for Nutrition That Works. Please join us again.